Call to order the Planning and Regulatory meeting of the Planning and Regulatory Committee. I have apologies from Councillor Copeland and Councillor Davey. Do we have any other apologies? Oh, and Mrs. Payne. Anyone else that we need to include? I think everyone else is here. So I move that the apologies be sustained. Someone to second. Councillor Barker, I'll put the apologies. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Confirmation order of the business as per the agenda. Just remind members of the committee if they've got any interest, just to advise at the appropriate time and update the register. No notice of public forum. We'll move on to the confirmation of minutes, pages 5 and 6. I have someone to move that they're a true and correct record.
Before you do that, Mandy needs to record that there's a change.
Yep.
I'll move.
Yep. Move. Seconded. Ms. Bishop, you got something to amend?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, for the minutes, in paragraph 4.1, the last paragraph, it was talking about what the submitter suggested, and it's not quite correct. And sorry, I didn't get to advise staff of this before. The last paragraph suggested the consent fee for removal of heritage trees. He actually meant the consent fee for the pruning or trimming of trees that do require resource consent to be 500 rather than 1,300. And I'll address that further in the report.
Have you got that?
So sorry, Ms. Bishop, could you just read out the exact wording that you're proposing to change?
Okay. So for that paragraph, he suggested further that the consent fee for the pruning or trimming of heritage trees confirmed in writing by a qualified arborist to be conducted according to best arboricultural practice should be $500 rather than $1,300.
Got that, Charlie? Now, with the leave of the move and the seconder, with those amendments? Who was the seconder? Who was the seconder? Was it Councillor Ward? Happy with the as amended, Councillor Ward? Okay, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Move on to deliberations, fees and charges. Ms. Bishop and Mr. Brown. Take it your report has been read. Anything you wish to draw to our attention?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just that correction. In my body of my report, did not make reference to that submission for changing the initial deposit for the pruning of heritage trees. So to talk to that now, most trees, when they're trimmed, they actually do fit in with our permitted activity standards. He's requesting that, for a resource consent required to trim or prune be in that lower deposit category. Happy for that to occur, but as it is, we've only had one consent in the last probably 5 years with that kind of activity. So, yeah, it can be included.
Councillor Ward.
In view of the fact that you actually said in the other one that the reason you've, I think, left it at the suggested price was in order to encourage people to take the moves that they might have taken to protect the tree earlier. I think that was your explanation. So a $500 fee would seem reasonable in the light of that, wouldn't it? A reduction in fee.
Through the chair, yeah, it's the other example was talking about the tree doing damage to structures. So in this case, the submitter was only talking about when a tree requires pruning or trimming. But yeah, I mean. And it is just an initial charge, it's not the total cost, so it's...
I thought the explanation was that, in fact, by leaving it there, you know, if you could leave the tree to deteriorate to a certain degree, you know, then you could argue that actually it has to be pulled down, you know, it has to be removed. Whereas if you have a $500 fee for doing the work earlier, you may in fact protect the tree. That's so that's why I'm suggesting that perhaps the $500 fee, in view of your your recommendation and the other request, makes sense.
Through the chair, yes, that does.
Any other questions? Right. Well, this is only a recommendation. The first one is the report be received. So someone to move the report be received. Councillor Laurie, Councillor Fulton to second. I'll put the to be received. Those in favour? Against? No other debate?
Just what were your thoughts on the question of this submitter who suggested the $100 fee for swimming pools inspection to cover a 5-year period rather than a 3-year period? Is that in line with legislation?
So, through you, Mr. Chair, there is currently an amendment bill going through Parliament around the fencing of swimming pools, possibly being repealed, and this work coming into the Building Act. And the Building Act, if that is the case, will then suggest a 5-yearly, as it stands at the moment in the proposal, a 5-yearly inspection regime, because up until now it's not been clarified within the enactments, it's been guidance. So the 5-yearly is actually something that's being proposed within the new Building Act, Amendment Act for to include swimming pools in the Building Act.
What stage in Parliament is the Building Act?
I would have to for you, the chair, I'd have to check. I know it's had certainly one reading and there has been consultation, and it's now gone back, I believe, for the second reading.
Okay. Now discussion, questions? Oh, recommendation to council. I'm prepared to move the recommendation to council. Do I have someone to second? Councillor Laurie? Right, put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Carried. No other business? Declare the meeting closed.